GearNetwork.com.
The following is a presentation of the Gear Radio Network.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I believe it's a big challenge for our building to keep things in perspective and to, if we're going to get addicted to anything, let's get addicted to the process.
And with that, we welcome you to Trust the Podcast, powered by Better Live Than Dead and the Gear Radio Network. This is episode 134.
Episode 134, my babies. Well, probably not the jovial tone you're going to have, Ryan, I'm sure, but
it is going to be a podcast. I am Ryan Wolfe, my co-host John Cimino. You can hear us on betterlivethandead.com, gearnetwork.com, and wherever else you listen to podcasts. Make sure to hit that subscribe button as well to stay up to date on the latest podcast. This is the Buffalo Bills versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. We had it wrong last week because I completely forgot that this was considered a home game for the Buffalo Bills. And John, no time like the present to talk about this steaming pile of shit that was the game on Sunday.
I was waiting. I really, as I was watching this game before I had to go to my daughter's cheer competition, because we're in the thick of cheer season right now. But I had the game going, and it was funny because I was in an auditorium filled with a lot of Bills fans that were there also to kind of watch cheer. And, you know, the girls there, they didn't really care about what was going on with football, but obviously the parents did, especially when their kids were not going, right? And you could just see just like the energy of the Bills fans in the crowd there just kind of dwindle. And I was paying attention to that, and I was paying attention to the Gear Network chat we have going on, and actually, I'm not going to lie, I was kind of looking forward to this a little bit.
Well, I'll tell you what, the game is what it is. I mean, the Buffalo Bills lose to the Jacksonville Jaguars 25-20. You can't win them all, right? It happens.
Yeah,
but when you start to break it down, John, this is much more than just a regular loss, a regular L on the calendar at the end of the season.
Sure.
This trip across the pond has the potential to derail a once promising Buffalo Bills season. I understand it's only the fifth week or whatever, but heading into Sunday, the Bills were down cornerback Tre'Davious White.
And heading into this past Sunday, I'm sorry. Okay, yes. I'm following you.
Down Tre'Davious White, cornerback who blew his Achilles, added to the IR this week. Cornerback Christian Benford, who's out with a shoulder. So their top two cornerbacks are currently out as of game time. Defensive end Greg Rousseau with a foot injury, and defensive end Shaq Lawson with a toe. Leaving England, Buffalo is now without D tackle Daquan Jones, who appears to have torn his pectoral muscle, will have surgery, either has had surgery or will have surgery, and linebacker Matt Milano, who has a knee/leg injury. All they said that they know right now is surgery is required. Both have been subsequently placed on the IR, likely for the remainder of the year. But Sean McDermott did say on Wednesday morning, quote, "I don't think that door's been totally shut," when he was asked about the possibility of both players returning. Now, scrolling down just a little to try to get to give you more information, John, because I don't know that you're necessarily buying what I'm selling right now. So let me dive a little deeper here. I'm actually going to copy and paste this so that way you can follow along with me.
I just watched you do that.
Wow.
You said scroll down a little bit. I did, but it's all good. I like the live action going on here.
So Bills fans like myself know, but John, being Bills Mafia's favorite Jets fan, I will bring you and others up to speed. Losing Matt Milano on defense for this team is, no hyperbole, equivalent to losing Josh Allen on offense.
Really?
He may not be out there getting sacks. He may not be out there doing all sorts of crazy things, but he is the linchpin for that defense. And the statistics show. I was going to pull up the stat, and I want to see if I can find it really quickly. But the last time they lost Matt Milano, the same thing happened. The defense fell apart when I believe he broke his ankle on the opposite leg. But again, it's a very big loss for the Buffalo Bills defense. He very much is their leader of that defense. And he's an all pro, don't get it twisted.
Well, yeah,
all pro linebacker, Matt Milano. But there is a reason why the Buffalo Bills chose to pay Matt Milano over Tremaine Edmonds. I mean, he is a very, very, very talented linebacker, one of the best in the National Football League. But here's the thing. This is what shakes it up, John.
Sure.
Is that you can't replace a Tre'Davious White. You can't replace a Matt Milano. But now it's time. We talked about this last week. And I can't remember the last time either, too. And I apologize for going off here, but I've been sitting on this.
No. I know well enough to just kind of sit and let you let it ride.
I appreciate you, John. We've been doing this for enough episodes here that you let me go off and then you kind of calm me back down. But I must say I've gotten much better at being subjective and looking at this from an NFL view, not just the Buffalo Bills view, because Buffalo Bills fans right now are writing the obituary of the 2023 Buffalo Bills. And while that's crazy,
and that's crazy to me, considering that you can easily, just looking ahead at the next 5 weeks, you could easily go 5 of 5, maybe 4 of 5 if the Bengals start heating up. But you've got Giants, Patriots, Bucks, Bengals, Broncos in order.
This is how big Matt Milano was to the Bills defense. Sean McDermott has hinted that there are potential defensive scheme changes coming. Sorry.
Oh, wow.
Because they need to find a way to play better without Matt Milano. They're not going to be able to play as good as they were. So you may have to rely a little bit more on Josh Allen. You may have to rely a little less on the defense. But again, as we talked about last week with Tre'Davious White being out with an Achilles, there is still time the rest of this month to scout players, to sign guys off the street, to put guys on your practice squad, which we'll talk about in a few minutes here.
Trade deadline.
Exactly. Finding ways to get better because, again, right now, there's been no movement on Matt Milano. There's been no, yep, he did this or he did that. There have been rumors that he fractured his leg. That's literally it. That's been unconfirmed, but the belief is
So they've been really keeping it in house.
Well, the thing is, I don't know if they know from people. People I've talked to, who are I guess in the know, have said that it's not certain what happened yet. But obviously, when they go in, they'll know, and that's when we'll have a better timeline. But they're saying it's not a torn ACL, which is huge. But if there have been some rumblings that maybe he has a tibial plateau fracture, which is the bone, I believe, the top of your leg that meets your knee. If that is a displaced fracture, he's done for the year. But if it's a non-displaced, he could be back later this year. You're talking December, January-ish. So I think that's why. Obviously, he's going to miss the next 4 games, no doubt about it. That's what the IR is now in the National Football League. We know that.
Right.
But when will he be back? Will it be next September or obviously next training camp next year? Or will it be later this year? We'll find out. But
is there has there been any indication on, perhaps when that knowledge might come out, when Matt Milano might go, see the doctors, the physicians, whomever he needs to see, get his opinions and anything like that? Has there been any headway on that? Or is he just sitting there with his leg kind of dangling, like wondering what's going on? And
yes, I mean, for lack of a better explanation, yeah. Because the thing that happens with knees, and from what I was reading and what I've been hearing from, like I said, friends that I have here, the belief is that when they looked at it at the stadium, you can see what's going on. But obviously, with the knee having trauma to it, it's going to be swollen. And on imaging, it's hard to see in that MRI if everything's swelled up. So you got to give it time to calm down, relax, come back to earth, come back to reality. And then you go take a look at it and go, okay, now this is kind of what we think, or this is our next step. I mean, obviously he's going to have surgery at some point in time.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's just about how serious the surgery is. And like I said, from what I've gathered, the belief is not that he blew his knee, but again, you'll see
that there's something there.
It's it kind of feels like when a baseball player, I mean, it's again, apples to oranges, but when they say, hey, it's like Brock Purdy when he got his elbow fixed.
Yes.
We're going to go in with the time frame of Tommy John. And if it's not as bad or if it's a different type of tear, we're going to do this other thing and you'll be back in 6 months instead of 12 months.
Okay.
So that's kind of how I look at it, where it's like they'll probably go in and say, okay, your ACL's fine, but maybe you tore your meniscus. We'll clean it up. You can be back as soon as your leg heals in 6 to 8 weeks or whatever. Like that. That's kind of a situation where I'm like, it fills me with a little hope. Maybe it's false hope that there has not been any sort of definitive timeline put out there for Matt Milano. But then again, they may not know because again, his knee could still be swollen up. It could be swole, could be waiting around for that because again, that's what happens. I mean, you got to give it time, but I would have to think, just being a betting man who's not very good at gambling, take that for what it's worth. But the lack of information appears to be good. The lack of news appears to be good news. No news is good news, I guess is what I could have said. But
I don't know. I mean, that's very optimistic of you, Ryan. When it comes to, news like that, I mean, yes, the hopeful fan in you is, no news is good news, but I'm looking at it like, is it really good news? Like, is it right now, if they are taking the kind of wait and see approach with how severe it is, how serious it is, I mean, clearly the dude's in some kind of pain, and it may be a while, but I
can't sit back.
I'm
here
very
and
curious.
They have no clue.
Yeah,
there's a reason why that nothing is coming out because
something is very tight-lipped.
Yeah, in-house they've got one thing, but we also know people aren't going to irresponsibly report something if they don't have the proof or if they don't have the information to go along with it.
Hint, hint, wink, wink. Yeah, okay.
And my thought is that simply, if there's no definitive diagnosis right now, what are you going to do? We're just guys with a podcast. We could talk about whatever we want. I mean, we can mention whatever. We can throw some dick and fart jokes out there. I mean, that's what we do here. But it's for me.
I guess since you mentioned it, there you go,
John. For me, moving forward, being a objective, trying to be logical. It's time to take a step back as a Bills fan and reset expectations and move forward.
What kind of expectations are you resetting though? Like
the defense is not going to be as good. So games where you may have to,
not going to be good, but damn well your offense is good enough to keep them in the game and or win the game for them. Now, sustainably, can that can one hand constantly wash the other all season? With the rigors of the football of the game of professional football. Probably not, but I think that even in spite of all of these losses, the Bills have the benefit of right now playing in a bit of a depleted AFC East. I say that because the New York Jets, all-star defense, they just lost Vera Tucker to.
I'm not even going to say that AFC East, man. It's the way the playoff format is now. If you're a decent team, if your team has a heartbeat, it's hard to miss the playoffs. We've talked about that in seasons past. Like at this point, fair. It's about, hey, maybe the expectation goes from win the East to just make the playoffs. Right. Maybe the expectation is you've got from now until January to figure out who your linebacker is.
Well, if you win the East, you make the playoffs.
Yes, but I'm just saying in terms of like, hey, maybe not winning the East, maybe, set the expectations that they'll get a wild card and they'll move from there. But the goal needs to be figuring out who. Okay, look, it sucks, right? It's killer to lose Tre'Davious White and Matt Milano on back-to-back weeks. You can either sit around and feel bad for yourself and tank your entire season because, oh, boo-hoo, an injury happened. It happens to everybody. We've seen even last weekend, it continued with the Bills with everybody else. A ridiculous amount of big-name players are getting hurt. I don't understand why. It's just the way that it is this year. But
yeah, it really is.
With that being said, you can sit around and feel sorry for yourself, but no one else is going to. So like either you pick yourself up by the bootstraps and you go back to work and you figure out, hey, this guy might not be as good as Tre'Davious White, but he's better than the other options that we have, or better than nothing. Or hey, this linebacker who I've never heard of before in my life, I mean, I'm going to talk about it a little later in the defensive segment, John. I fancy myself on knowing the Bills players pretty well. There were some guys last week where I was like, who the hell is this guy? I've literally never heard of him before. And he's the linebacker or he's the defensive tackle, or he's the cornerback that's expected to make the play against, like the one thing, and I'm going to kind of go off here really quick as if I've not been going off the entire time here. I appreciate you.
I am royally entertained right now.
There was a big play, John. I don't know if you caught it, where Micah Hyde was covering Calvin Ridley, and Calvin Ridley got the first down, which I believe put the game away for the Jaguars. And everybody was roasting the Bills, saying, why would you put a safety on Calvin Ridley? He's so good. Because literally, who else did the Buffalo Bills on Sunday have to cover Calvin Ridley?
Right. I mean, you went through the list. You went through the list of names there with your corners alone, Trey White and Christian Benford, both gone.
The Buffalo Bills started Kyer Elam on Sunday, who literally was a healthy scratch for the first 4 games of the season. If that tells you how they felt about him.
Yeah.
The Buffalo Bills made a move this week, which I believe was specifically based off of Kyer Elam's performance, which we'll talk about a little later in the podcast. In the business, John, we call that a cliffhanger. But again, one more thing and we can move on. 1.5 things. Win or loss, this was going to come up. I know people, you, John, will even try to hold me accountable. I appreciate that. Sunday was considered a home game for Buffalo in the sense that they wore their home jerseys, right?
Yeah.
Jacksonville.
There was a splendid amount of Bills fans there.
Oh, they showed up and showed out like always.
Absolutely. They travel very, very well.
The one thing that wasn't mentioned a lot, though, is that Jacksonville had been in town for 10 days. Jacksonville played the weekend before in London in a different state at Wembley Stadium. So they were already acclimated to the time change and the elements. Even running back for the Jaguars, Travis Etienne, confirmed post-game that Sunday's game was much different than last week's game in London because they were acclimated, while Buffalo had a little over 2 days prior to kickoff, roughly about 50 hours. Now, Sean McDermott did confirm that this ultimately was a poor decision on the organization's part, but in a league that tries to level the playing field as much as possible, not a very good look to say, this team's going to be in town. They're going to be good to go. They came out all firing on all cylinders. It took Buffalo's offense quite literally almost 3 quarters to wake up and look like they shook off the jet lag finally, and they were off to the races. If they had played like that out of the gate, this probably, even injuries considered, would have been a different result because the Buffalo Bills offense was cooking, which we'll talk about in just a few minutes. But John, again, maybe next time they put, and I'm no scheduling genius here, but maybe next time you put 4 teams in London at the same time. Week 1, teams A and B play, C and D play. Then the week after, teams B and C, A and D play, or A and C, B and D.
That's actually a great idea.
Not a good look.
No, definitely not a good look. You have one of your premier teams, your benchmark teams, your money teams, if you will, in Buffalo, and Josh Allen and the show that they put on every single week. One of the best teams in the leagues that's in football, just in general. Last week we were talking about, where they are historically and the pace that they've been on, putting up points and everything to kind of go there into London and kind of be flat for most of the game, to a Jaguars team that, yes, the Jaguars they're up and coming, and they're much better now than they were 2 years ago, 3 years ago, etc. But in the same, they're not the Buffalo Bills. If this game happened on shore, regardless of whether or not it was at Highmark, this is a Buffalo Bills victory without question.
And I agree with you. Like, Doug Peterson has built a great thing down in Jacksonville. That defense is stout. That offense is hard to stop. They made one of the smartest moves we've seen in recent history, acquiring Calvin Ridley for pennies on the dollar when he was suspended for gambling, for sports gambling. I mean, they've done a lot of very good things down there.
Very smart.
But when it comes down to it, a healthy Buffalo Bills team is much better than a healthy Jacksonville Jaguars team.
Yeah, it was the travel, and you're right. The travel, the time zone change, kind of going where you had to go, and then you can't really quite deal with it. You're not fully rested, and then you have to practice the next day, or kind of at least go through walkthroughs. For a lot of what's being made of McDermott and his coaching abilities and where he's now, where he's placed in the history of the Buffalo Bills franchise, and will likely be placed at the end of the day. This was certainly not a highlight landmark moment of his career.
Hey, we'll talk about it when we break down the defense. We'll move over to the three big things here in a minute.
I don't even know if it's his decision either. I might be unfairly labeling McDermott as
I think
the reason why
the ultimate lead. I think he did the ultimate leader thing and said, like, that was my bad,
Mm-hmm.
like we screwed up. But I think if they do it again, they'll probably leave earlier in the week and give themselves a couple of days to get up to speed. But Speaking of the elements, the field was awful. The Bills players were noted as saying the field was like playing on concrete, while Tottenham, the Hotspurs, they have a grass pitch for soccer. The football field is turf. Buffalo cornerback Teron Johnson confirmed post-game he almost hurt his knee. His cleat got caught in the turf, and he had to leave the game for a handful of plays because it looked like he may have injured himself severely. Thankfully, just got caught, a little shook up, and moved forward from there. But again, there were multiple complaints from multiple players. I understand when Jacksonville says, "Oh, well, the turf was fine for us." Well, no shit, because you won the game. And obviously on the flip side, the Bills were upset because they lost the game. But like, this is not the first time that this has happened.
No, I mean, it's happened here in the States.
Putting your best foot forward.
Right.
It literally happened in Minnesota. They have slit turf. Travis Kelce hurts his foot or his ankle or whatever, because again, your foot hits the slit in the turf. Boom. Your foot either gets caught in the turf and locks up, or whatever happens. It's like, why are we not playing on grass? I don't. Right. I understand, because it costs more money. You got to upkeep it, but like,
yeah, but this is not like the 1950s, 1960s NFL where they're an up and coming league and trying to get attention. They were playing on grass back then.
It's like driving a Ferrari on fucking donuts. Like, come on.
Exactly.
Like, what are you doing?
In this stage of the game right now, where the NFL is and where the NFL continues to go, I just read recently that they're planning on, the owners there are planning on giving Roger Goodell another 3 years at $60 million, which would bring Goodell's total value of his entire tenure as a NFL commissioner $700 million since he was appointed commissioner, I believe in 2003 or 2004, whatever it was, which is insane to me. But you talk about the amount of money that this organization makes. They literally, Ryan, they print money. During the pandemic, they were able to stay open in all of their stadiums without fans, granted, but still they were able to operate and still kind of break even, that year. And it's so I can't be convinced that the NFL can't put in the money, or the teams can't pool in the money or something to start changing over these fields from turf back to grass. Technology is different now. Not just, for screen time and all of that, but, technology has advanced in maintaining yards, maintaining lawns, like baseball stadiums. They're on grass, and we could have a snowstorm tomorrow, but that grass at Innovative Field will be green as hell. If there was a game tomorrow, it's just, there's a lot more that goes into it. So even, going back to the 1950s and the 1960s, where they're playing in, the NFL championship game in Yankee Stadium, the greatest game ever played, the Ice Bowl, those kind of legendary games, they're all playing on grass and dirt's getting kicked up, and you're getting all it's not like that now. Like, there's been so much advancements there. I don't think the NFL is going to be spending nearly as much money as they would have back in the early era, where they were just getting their feet wet. It's just literally and figuratively and literally.
And I apologize for the F-bomb. We are recording much later than normal. and my filter is gone. I'll try to go back and edit it.
It's all right. Don't worry. Don't worry about it. I had a joke regarding a former member of my family, and a couple of weeks ago, and I said I was going to edit it as well, and I never did, and no one said anything about it. So don't worry about it.
well, I love
it proved the point that I made, though, that party doesn't listen to the podcast, or maybe they do,
or they don't care. They don't care.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'll join you. Fuck them.
I love it. 3 big things brought to you by puckluck.com. John, the hockey season's underway. Thursday,
it is.
It's Wednesday night, the 11th. On Thursday, the 12th, the Buffalo Sabres take the ice for the first time in the 2023-24 NHL season. Puckluck.com, your one-stop resource for all of your National Hockey League sports betting action. Puckluck provides win percentages and score projections for each and every National Hockey League game to tilt the ice in your favor. Not sure what to bet or just in a rut? Not to worry. Puckluck also provides expert picks to get the puck bouncing your way. Please note, though, puckluck.com is in no way affiliated with the National Hockey League, its teams, or the NHLPA. Puckluck.com provides data related to gambling and cannot guarantee the success of any suggested or related wagers. As always, please gamble responsibly. Now,
hang on, before you go to one, I always have to interrupt with something, especially when you mention the Buffalo Sabres and them starting tomorrow. So, in the name of the Sabercast here, who you got? Rangers at Sabres, October the 12th at 7 p.m. Who you got?
Sabres, baby. They're going to make the playoffs this year.
You think the Sabres are going to make the play? You think this is going to be the year they break that streak?
The vibes, my dog, the vibes are immaculate. They just signed this evening. They announced a long-term extension for Owen Power. Earlier this week, they announced a long-term extension for Rasmus Dahlin.
I did see that one.
That core is locked up tight.
All right.
They're going to be good for a very long time.
I don't normally say, I don't normally pick winners of Sabres games because I always lose. So I'm just going to say, I'm with you on this one, Ryan. I may pick a winner for October 19th game when the Flames come to town, which I'm pissed about because I don't know. If it were another day, if it were a day earlier, I would have had the opportunity to actually go to the game. It would have been my first NHL game. Could have seen the Amherst of yesterday play my favorite NHL team. It would have been fun, but I can't. So, but maybe next week I'll have a prediction for that game.
Sounds good to me. Dissecting the offense here, John. Josh Allen. Can I get a one time for the Josh Allen?
Dog.
Despite starting off slow, he finished.
Did it come through?
Oh, I got that. Don't you worry.
All right.
27 of 40, 359 passing yards, 2 touchdowns and 1 pick, although the pick was an arm punt. 4 carries for 14 yards and a touchdown. Allen came out looking incredibly jet lagged, as did most of the Buffalo offense. While Buffalo's defense lost key players, Buffalo's offense had multiple missed opportunities that ultimately cost them a victory. But again, more pressure on this offense just simply because they may have to make a few more plays. They may have to be a little more efficient in certain aspects. But, I mean, if you're just looking at the stats alone, 359 passing yards and 3 total touchdowns from Josh Allen, you can't really argue with that. I mean, that was a decent performance on the surface for 17.
Absolutely. All things considering, the jet lag and still to be able to go, literally cross the Atlantic with not even a full real night's rest and not adjusted and still throws out, 359 yards and has the Bills within a touchdown from winning the game.
Dog.
Complete dog. Hey, and someone had a God Save the King flag with Josh Allen on it. It was incredible. I saw that before the game.
Oh, NFL fans. I'm wondering. I like that, and I can respect that the NFL wants to have a big blueprint across the world, right? But in the same, hey, come on, what are we doing with this London stuff? Seriously. Like it's a nice optic.
Oh, they're going to
like,
go to London and Germany, and they've got some games in Mexico. They want to play other places as well. You know what I'm excited about this week, though, John?
What's that?
The rumblings that either they have or they're going to add flag football to the Olympics.
I did see that. Who was it? Was it Tyreek Hill that actually said who's joining? Let's go or something?
Could you
like that?
imagine Team USA? Like Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill. I mean, insert Stephon Diggs, like playing some random plumber from like Romania in flag football.
Oh,
that's what I want.
That would be hysterical. I would love it.
Or could you imagine Josh Allen
by
himself over a construction worker from I don't know Azerbaijan or whatever, however you say it.
Kazakhstan?
No, I'm thinking of a different place. Just jumping over some random guy.
I think even Kyle Allen would probably jump over him.
I don't know that NFL players can participate or will be allowed to participate, but dear God, please,
probably not. But you know what? That'd be another great opportunity for like the merging XFL, USFL, like those players. They'd still go there and probably do very, very well against those plumbers and janitors and whatever whatever their version of Burn Dairy is, and those employees that work there, like
maybe they'll get like I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where I was going to go with that. I just completely lost my train of thought. But
that's all right. They'll get an air fried chicken sandwich after the games.
Going back to the Bills, speaking of Stephon Diggs, 8 receptions, 11 targets for 121 yards and a touchdown. Also, wide receiver Gabe Davis. Both are dogs, my man. 6 receptions, 8 targets for 100 yards and a touchdown. It's now tallied a touchdown reception in 4 straight games, a new career high. Although it blows my mind that you could throw a pass to Gabe Davis in the numbers right in the chest, can't catch it. But you throw one that is impossible to catch, and this man will somehow make the catch.
Everybody
in the game that was unreal.
Everybody contributes in their own unique ways. You know what I mean? It wouldn't be a complete team without a player that is the anomaly to every exception.
Hey man, some people like to work harder, not smarter, and I think Gabe Davis might be one of those guys.
He you know what? More power to him. It's good to have 1 or 2 of those folks on your team every week, Brian. So I'd take it, and I'd be happy with it.
Yeah, I guess so. I'll take that. But putting a bow on the O here, running struggles, 14 total team carries for 29 yards and a touchdown. James Cook, 5 carries for -4 yards.
Yikes.
The run game did not hit it off out of the gate, and they abandoned it very quickly, as you can see here. But also, another thing they abandoned was their discipline. The Buffalo Bills, in total, 11 penalties for 109 yards. Now, mind you, I think, and a lot of people think that sorry, my headphones just got caught there. That the video game, not the video game. Why did I say video game? The football game, poorly refereed on both sides of the ball. A lot of very
I feel like that's
questionable calls, but you're just like,
yeah,
you're literally scratching your head like, okay, what did I miss that you saw?
Yeah, I feel like it's been like that the last few weeks, really like magnified, like that game right there. But the Bills Jaguars, there was some very, very strange calls there. You got to see some very strange calls in the last, the Jets Chiefs game a week and a half ago. Now at this point was there were some strange calls there. We've been seeing them all over the league. A couple in the San Francisco game that I was kind of like, okay. I don't know what's going on. It's like the ebbs and flows of the referees. Sometimes they're really good and they're good for a stretch, and then other times you wonder if they're the scab refs from 2012 that don't know. One's calling a touchdown, the other one's calling an incomplete pass. I don't understand, and I don't think I'll ever understand why the NFL can't focus a good, conscious, solid effort to develop their own referees and train them up and send them out and to be a little bit more fluid. It's just really weird. It's like I said, ebbs and flows. It's
I get that. Yeah.
Something I'll never understand.
That seems very fair. I'll totally get that one. I mean, Again, and not to mention too, you want to put your game in the best light possible. Send the best crew. That's just my opinion. But
right, exactly. When you're spending all that time, you're putting over the idea, and it's a great idea. Please do not get me wrong. I'm not completely bitching about the London games because of the fact that I can wake up on a Sunday morning and justify morning drinking, right? Having mimosas, until it's beer o'clock. You know what I mean? I can justify breakfast chicken wings. I can.
My wife made an incredible breakfast casserole and then subsequently broke the garbage disposal afterwards. So
oh no, but that. In spite of all of that,
when you put too many eggshells in the garbage disposal, you end up breaking it. We found that one out this past weekend. It was a very old disposal. But still.
No, you shouldn't be putting eggshells in the garbage disposal anyways.
I didn't know that.
You put them in the garbage.
We did not know that. We thought
you didn't know to put eggshells in the garbage.
I don't pay attention. I fix it.
That's common sense. It's an eggshell. You put it in the garbage.
Not in this house, man. It's never been a problem before, and all of a sudden this weekend it was a problem.
You really put eggshells? What else do you put in the garbage disposal? Do you put plastic in the garbage disposal?
No.
Okay, so you're not that far gone.
No,
but eggshells you put in there. What else you put in?
No, I'll tell you off air. It'll make more sense off air. It's just
you wouldn't put a condom in the garbage disposal, would you? Sorry, folks. It's Wednesday night and we're tired. I've been up since goddamn 5:30 this morning, driving in meetings all goddamn day. I'm 3 beers deep, and I am like,
that's all good, man.
I'm in Friday podcast mode.
We'll move on to breaking down the defense. And now defensive end AJ Epinesa had 4 total tackles, 2 solo, 2 sacks, 1 tackle for loss, 3 pass deflections, 2 quarterback hits. John, Epinesa's continued development in year 4 has been like found money for this Buffalo Bills defense.
Yes.
Coming into the year, his spot on the roster was written in pencil. And by this time at this point, it's in Sharpie marker. He's got himself a nice spot in the rotation.
Absolutely. Playing great. And you know what? Now, as depleted as the defense is, this is really going to be a very, very good time for him to shine, really step up, be in that leader role, kind of, just do your thing, spread your wings, young man, and fly.
Well, I mean, also, you got to remember, too, that they've got guys like Ed Oliver, 9 tackles, 6 solo, 1 sack, 3 tackles for losses, and 2 quarterback hits. Buffalo, normally dominating on D, was dominated on D, but look at this, man. Jacksonville beat the life out of them. They outpossessed Buffalo 38-12 to 21-48, which had Buffalo's defense gassed. At one point, AJ Epinesa was shown on the broadcast on the bench receiving oxygen. Jacksonville had 82 plays to Buffalo's 54. They literally just continued to bend Buffalo's defense until it broke.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of it breaking like a pretzel, it was more like a piece of plastic that you keep bending back and forth until it finally breaks. That's kind of what it felt like. And honestly, and no offense to these guys because they are professional football players, but defensive tackle Kendall Vickers played 46 snaps. That's 52% of the plays. It was his first gameplay of 2023. Defensive end Kingsley Jonathan played 26 snaps. That's 30% of the plays. He had played 45 total snaps this season in 3 games. That includes his performance on Sunday. Linebacker Dorian Williams played 32 snaps. That's 36.4% of the plays. He's normally a special teams player. And first round pick a couple years ago, Kyer Elam, cornerback, ended up getting benched late in the game for cornerback Jamarcus Ingram, who played the final 8 snaps of the game in place of Elam. I mean, just a piss poor effort by Kyer Elam for a guy who was drafted so high to just, I don't even know, like it that may. I mean,
you got to be playing pretty poorly if you're being benched on defense. If the Buffalo Bills is depleted as it is.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. That is very fair, and it head scratcher of a move still there by Brandon Beane. Maybe they'll find a way to make it work out, but definitely not last weekend. The bright side though, linebacker Von Miller returned to the lineup for the first time since Thanksgiving Day 2022. He was on a pitch count.
Boy, are you guys going to need him?
Yeah, he played 20 defensive snaps. He maxed out his plays right when Buffalo was getting the hurt the worst. So, with that being said. Let's take a quick commercial break, John. I'm just
I'm got to be honest with you, Ryan. This might be this podcast. You should have the 4 big things right now because I'm still hung up on that eggshells in the garbage disposal. That's a big thing to me. I'm very baffled by this. And
that like that TV show where they next. Would that be your next? Where you're like puts eggshells in the disposal next?
Maybe, I don't know, but. And now now my mind is going because of the time of night where we're recording right now. I have a list of things that I'm beginning to develop in my head of items that I wish to ask you. If this were BLTD or the JC Money Show, we would be spending an entire segment where I would be asking you what items you put in the garbage disposal. And for some reason that tickles me right now. But yes,
that's fine. I mean, if we can we'll go to commercial. Come back. You ask me whatever you want to.
No, we'll leave that. We'll leave that for the Patreon that I never update.
We'll be back right after this quick commercial break with more Trust the Podcast here on the Gear Radio Network. And we're back here on Trust the Podcast. John Cimino, Ryan Wolfe, you know us by now. You should at least. Wrapping up week 4 around the NFL, brought to you by Go Frost Yourself. John, I did take your advice last week on my birthday. Went and saw Molly down at Go Frost Yourself. Got myself some nice cupcakes. It was amazing.
All right. Very good. You know what? And well deserved. I'm glad you took my advice on there. And for anybody else that wants to take my advice, as you should. Oh, that's the wrong Price is Right. Producer man, what's wrong with you? What is wrong with you? It's Wednesday night, producer man. Why, when I say Price is Right, when I said Price is Right theme, you need to write their new Price is Right showcase theme so I can, there you go. Thank you very much. Boom. All right. Go Frost Yourself, ladies and gentlemen. Located in Rochester, New York. Go Frost Yourself does what other local bakeries do not. They bake from scratch, creating recipes themselves and using the best fresh ingredients that they can find to create the delicious flavors. Excuse me, I can't English very well tonight, Ryan, for their customers daily. Molly and Jen, hi Molly and Jen, have worked tirelessly to create what Go Frost Yourself has become today, and their passion can be tasted in the items that they bake. Don't believe me? Ask Ryan Wolfe. When you find yourself looking for an item for a special occasion, or maybe you just want to try their incredible cinnamon rolls, if you are local, you can visit Go Frost Yourself storefront at 2544 Ridgeway Avenue in Rochester, New York, or at gofrostyourself.com.
I love the music in the background, man. That was great.
Yes. Showcase showdown there. All right, go ahead. Nick, thank you, producer. Trying to get it to stop. The invisible producer here.
We're going to start with the class of the NFC here. Both San Francisco and Philadelphia improved their records to 5-0 on Sunday, with their upward trajectory still aimed in the same direction. John, a Week 13 matchup in Philadelphia that will be an NFC Championship rematch from last season and a potential NFC Championship preview for this season.
Yeah, you never know. Both teams are very, 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 very good. And this is, to your point, the class of the NFC right now. The Philadelphia Eagles, they're actually playing the Jets this week, so I don't think they're lost record. Although the Jets defense, you never know, they could surprise. They play good teams very well, it seems. But Philadelphia just is an anomaly when you have a quarterback like Jalen Hurts, who's built really for the tush push. That plays kind of unstoppable.
The brotherly.
Right now.
They've started calling it the brotherly shove.
Brotherly shove. Oh God! All right, they NFL'd it.
Miami defeated the New York Jets 31-16.
No, they defeated the Giants, not the Jets.
Yeah, I don't know why
that hasn't come yet. Don't worry, it'll
habit. Force of habit. The Dolphins defeat the Giants 31-16. 524 total yards on Sunday, giving Miami 2,568 yards offensively on the season. That's the most yards through the first 5 games of a season in NFL history.
And did you see McDaniel's comment about that very stat.
Yeah, he said, you got me. That's exactly what we were doing. Mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished. Our whole goal this entire offseason was statistical output through 5 games. I can't lie. That actually popped me. I thought it was hilarious.
He just knows how to troll people. He's like,
he really does. And
great.
you know what? It's the same thing I said with Belichick. God, Belichick annoyed the hell out, and I kind of feel sorry for him, but he annoyed the hell out of me for 20 years, right? But he knew how to troll, and I always respected that of him. And McDaniel's got that same mojo.
I mean, either you it's the opposite saying, but I'll try to not screw it up here. Either you die a villain or live long enough to see yourself become the hero. And Bill Belichick's starting to become the hero because people are starting to feel really bad for him.
Yeah,
because turns out Mac Jones is not the second coming of Tom Brady. Who'd have thunk it?
Not even. No, he's not. I think Mac Jones benefited that first year from having some of the Brady holdovers still there, but now in like year 3,
that meme you sent in the Gear Network chat, hilarious.
The Bill Belichick at the McDonald's.
Yeah, looking for a new Mac. I love that.
Looking for a better Mac.
Running back Devin Achane.
McCorkle.
Devin Achane. I even put the pronunciation here. I can't say it right. That's a shocker. I mispronounced a name on a podcast. Who would have thunk it? He's reportedly week to week after suffering a knee injury against the Giants, and we since have heard that he has been placed on the IR. He'll miss at least the next 4 games. John, he's averaging 12.1 yards per carry. That's 460 yards on 38 carries, and he also had 5 rushing touchdowns. Big loss for Miami, but they still have, I don't know, the other 75 fastest players in the league. So
yeah, exactly.
I think they'll be just fine.
All right, from the Al Davis playbook there, Ryan. Just win, baby, I guess.
Yeah, but except Al Davis was just really terrible at doing it otherwise. It's kind of like, the Cowboys, they lost this past week, and Jerry Jones had mentioned he wants to see some changes made. And it's like, buddy, you are the GM.
Right.
You're the one that has to make the changes. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, right. Well, also, good old Jerry Jones. He's still talking about 1995 as if it were, 1996.
He's a real piece of shit. Kansas City, the Chiefs, with their 27-20 victory.
Salty
Sunday.
Ryan this week. I mean, for the sake of the podcast, the podcast is always fun when the Bills win, and they've been doing it so much that we're kind of accustomed to it now. But man, when they lose, the saltiness out of you, Ryan, and the snark that kind of comes out when you talk about it, it's hilarious to me. I feel like a proud dad.
I think it's more snark than salt because, I understand that. I meant to mention this earlier, but this will probably fill in pretty well. You want to know the best thing about the Buffalo Bills getting hurt and potentially tanking their season because their defense has guys that they literally are pulling off the street, John?
What's that? Why is
none of this is going to matter because we're all going to die someday.
Jesus. You went morbid on me there.
That's what I told that to a couple of my friends, and they were like, damn, man, that's a very good point. I said, yeah, I mean, it's at the end of the day, none of this matters because it's just football. But, some people do choose to create their lives and make their personality sports. I did it for the longest time and then decided that women are exciting and I like them more than sports. So
you decided that you actually like to get in between the sheets.
Yeah. And then I was like, football can be on the back burner a little. I'll just hang out and watch it on the
well, there was a period of time where you were like anti-football. You're like, I just can't stand it. I'm like, dude, come on. You were like,
the Bills were so freaking bad, man. You got to remember, I know you know this. I know everybody knows this. I have watched the Bills since the Music City Miracle, so anything else has been found money. This run has been pretty damn fun, so God forbid they don't win 13 games and they win 10 games. I'm not going to lose a lot of sleep over it. It's still pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's the perspective you need to have. If the Jets ever get to a point where they're kind of winning like this, I know my perspective has changed being a lifelong fan and kind of spoiled to them being in the playoffs, kind of, for a couple years at a time. And then maybe a couple years they weren't. And then they went on a good stretch where they were like on again, off again, on again, off again, and then on for a few. and they've gone on this stretch now where they're just not. They don't make the playoffs. They haven't been very successful, and so I now understand how you must have felt being a Buffalo Bills fan coming in at the tail end of the magic run from the 90s to now, like all of this whole generation. There's a whole generation of Bills fans that didn't know winning. They just knew that we had a team. We were lucky to have a team in this area. That at one point in time, there was a threat that the team possibly moving to Toronto or somewhere else, and mercifully that did not happen. And now they've rebounded and rebuilt that city, so to speak.
I mean, there was a goddamn time where Donald Trump was going to buy the Buffalo Bills.
Oh my God! Would you have? No, I don't want to make a political. Never mind. Go on.
If you're asking me, fuck Donald Trump. If that's what you're asking me.
I was not going to go. Because
I'm sorry. I just blacked out. What happened?
I was going to ask if you would have still been a Bills fan had he purchased the team, but that that would have predated the presidency and all of that anyway. So I think if he would have successfully purchased the team, one, I think he would have moved it. And two, I don't. No,
he would have just sold it for parts, man, like everything else that he does in his life.
He would. Well, he would have moved it probably to New York,
and then he would actually have a team with his daughter.
And all right, let's get off that. Let's get off the topic.
Hey, speaking of that, I wasn't gonna mention this on the podcast, but did you hear that the COO and the new executive, like vice president or whatever, they just got fired immediately because it turns out that they were in a romantic relationship together. Like, where do they find these people that It's the same thing with Russ. Remember Russ Brandon, and he was just he just tried to like bang his way out of it. You can't do that, man. You're a professional.
So what's his face from who was the Boston Celtics head coach now in Houston? Mm-hmm. He was nabbed for that too, and it's like, I guess I don't know. Power does things to people, or whether you're the one wielding the power or you're the one seeking it. People kind of, gravitate or make choices that, ultimately end up biting them in the ass. Happens. It's foolproof. It's 100% of the time.
Hey man, 100% of the time.
Sometimes. Yeah, there we go. Exactly. You're very good. Very good.
Everybody at One Bills Drive is apparently horned. Anyways, speaking of power, John,
what do you have to do for 6 months when it's fall, winter? Yeah, you're inside working, or you're inside your home 6 months out of the year in Western New York. Like, what else you got to do?
That's very fair. That's a different conversation.
Shower shame time.
Different conversation for
putting eggshells and condoms in. I don't put condoms
in a garbage disposal. Jesus Christ. Kansas City, powerful. The 27-20 victory Sunday. Patrick Mahomes has now beaten every other team in the NFL except for the Kansas City Chiefs, obviously. Mahomes becomes the first quarterback in NFL history to beat 31 different NFL franchises before turning 30. That's the fun news. The not so fun news: Minnesota wide receiver Justin Jefferson suffered a hamstring injury in the 27-20 loss to Kansas City, as we mentioned. Excuse me. With at least a 4-game IR stint for Jefferson, will that push the 1-4 Vikings to pick up the phone and start making calls to move their pending UFA quarterback Kirk Cousins?
I have been reading lots of things that is now a much stronger possibility. And they're obviously saying things like linking him to the Jets, but they also have talked about Washington, a reunion there, a couple other places too that could use a quarterback right now. I don't know. That's going to be an interesting story. But I think, as we go into the mid-month here in October and with the trade deadline looming, I think you're going to see pretty soon who are buyers and who are sellers. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see what happens in that storyline.
It's fun too because good teams have been bad this year, or teams that were supposed to be good or good last year are not good this year. And that can obviously force some hands because we all know those good teams are loading up with talent or loading up with expiring contracts or guys on 1-year deals, whatever the situation may be. Here in Minnesota, the big question was, first off, I was listening to a podcast today. What will motivate Justin Jefferson to come back? Say that if the Vikings lose the next 4 games, they're 1-8 or they're 2-7 or 3-6.
Mm-hmm.
He still doesn't have a contract after the season. He is a restricted free agent, but like, what's gonna motivate him to come back? Kirk Cousins, Kirk Cousins, a UFA. His home is in Minnesota. He's got, this is the last year on his deal. Like, he has a no movement clause in his contract. What makes you think he's just going to want to blow it up and move away? Because again, at the end of the day, it's like that doesn't. We've seen how Kirk Cousins is. We watched the Netflix special. He's like a vanilla or like a white cracker, like literally and figuratively a white cracker.
Okay.
He's like boring as shit. He's not going to want to go anywhere. He loves Minnesota, man.
Yeah, but he'll also go. He'll if they make him feel welcome, he'll go wherever. You know.
How do you make Kirk Cousins feel welcome?
Present him an opportunity with a chance to win and go deep into the playoffs, which is why it would be enticing if a team that is on the cusp of doing it. It could be very inviting to him, the chance to play for a team that could go deep in the playoffs.
Real quick, before we move over to our look ahead here, what is the whitest thing that you could possibly think of?
Oh, putting me on the spot. 9 for whitest thing I can possibly think of. I can't think of anything right now. That's how white.
Like calling the police on your neighbors because they're too loud at 9 p.m. on a weeknight.
No, because I've known.
I'm trying to get the ball rolling here.
I'm at a loss right now. White thing, country music. That's the whitest thing I can think of. Country music. I do not like country. I know you do, Ryan. You like country music.
I don't mind it. Yeah, but I mean,
I dislike country music. Put all the country music in the goddamn garbage can for all I care. I don't like country. You missed a spot right there. You missed a great. That's how I know you're not a comedian, man. You had an opportunity to tie it back. You could have said, put that country music in the garbage disposal along with the eggshells. You could have, but it's also Wednesday night and I've been up since 5:30 in the morning. Bear with me.
I don't excuses. I don't want to hear them, dog. Moving over to our look ahead. Remember earlier in the podcast, I told you Kaiir Elam, his performance was piss poor.
Yes.
Well, this is how poor it was.
Uh-oh.
On Tuesday, the Buffalo Bills announced the signing of cornerback Josh Norman to the practice squad. Remember, Josh Norman played for Buffalo in 2020, 9 games, 3 starts, 1 pick, which was returned for a touchdown, a forced fumble, and 24 tackles. His previous stint with the Buffalo Bills, though, John, will always live forever in sports lore, or if you're Josh Norman, sports infamy. That highlight where Derrick Henry properly yeeted his ass across a football field.
Oh man, yeah, that was the yeet her and round the world there. Josh Norman, wow, that's a name I feel like I haven't heard his name in quite a while.
But he has played here before, only a couple years ago. Defense hasn't really changed much, should be able to step in with no problem. But again, this to me feels like a direct response to the performance from Kaiir Elam on Sunday.
Oh yeah, that's definitely a statement. They don't make those they don't make those decisions, accidentally. That was definitely a very deliberate statement. Since Buffalo, yeah, he played in San Francisco in 21 and in Carolina in 2022. Last year, only played in 2 games in Carolina though, so that's probably why I haven't heard his name in a while.
That's fair. Wednesday morning, Buffalo announced they've signed linebacker A.J. Klein, old friend, to the 53-man roster. In 3 seasons with Buffalo, he appeared in 37 games, has appeared in 144 career games overall, 15.5 career sacks. Linebacker Balin Spector is designated to return from IR. He has 6 career games with the 2022 7th-round pick, currently recovering from a hamstring injury. Defensive tackle, thank you for the fixing of that one, John, right there.
I'm sorry. It's the OCD in me.
I saw it move as I was about to say it. I appreciate that. Defensive tackle Andrew Brown signed to the practice squad. He has 28 career games between Cincinnati, Houston, Los Angeles Chargers, and the Chicago Bears. He has 19 career tackles and 1 career sack. Week 5, the Buffalo Bills versus the New York Giants kickoff October 15th, Sunday at 8:20 p.m.
And why in the hell did the New York Giants get so many freaking
because they made the playoffs last year, but also this is ex-offensive coordinator, old friend of the Buffalo Bills, Brian Dable, bringing the New York Football Giants to Highmark Stadium to take on the Buffalo Bills in what can be considered a, I guess, revenge game. Revenge for what, though? Because the New York Giants, John, as you know, suck so bad this year.
Yeah, they're not good. They're not good.
They're 1-4, fourth in the NFC East. Not good is an understatement. They've scored 62 points, allowed 153 points to be scored on them. Wink Martindale, their defensive coordinator,
I love the name.
Not having a good time there.
No, not at all.
287.4 total yards per game for the Giants offense. Their defense is allowing 383.8 total yards per game. Expect Josh Allen to go the F off. Go off.
I'm expecting Kyle Allen to make an appearance this game.
That's fair.
If that's any indication of where I think this game is headed. I think I'm headed to bed by midway through the second quarter, because it'll be over by then.
Quarterback Daniel Jones is nursing a neck injury. They say he'll be okay. That dude has the longest neck.
He does.
Who has a longer neck, though? Davis Mills of the Texans or Daniel Jones?
Oh, wow.
Either way.
I'm going to go with Davis Mills on that one.
We're going to have to get the tape measure out and check it out here. Yeah. I'll just get my iPhone, the little measuring app on it, and see if I can figure out neck size according to that application. But quarterback.
You do that and you let us know how that turns out.
Backup quarterback for the New York Giants, old friend Tyrod Taylor.
Oh, well, it'll be good to see him, playing in Buffalo again. The Bills fans.
He'll probably be on the field at some point after Von Miller lawn darts Daniel Jones across the field at some point.
I'm sure of it, assuming Daniel Jones plays. But if
Brian Dable said he's on track. He's on track.
Right, well, I guess good. But if Tyrod plays, I would expect the Buffalo Bills faithful to give him a warm welcome. Regardless of what the score will be at that point. I think Bills fans, appreciated his time here in Buffalo and the fact that the drought ended with him as the starting quarterback of the Buffalo Bills. That's got to count for something. It meant something to him. It meant something to the city. He means something to the, to the faithful. He's a favorite, kind of like a Fitzpatrick. He's a favorite. So I think, Bills fans will greet him warmly. I think it'd be nice to see.
I think so.
Now that said, I do see your ESPN matchup predictor there. 89.1% of America.
Yeah, I was going to say this was my transition. I was thinking in my head. Let me hit you with this and see if it makes sense. I was going to say Buffalo will warmly welcome Tyrod Taylor, but ESPN says that America believes the Bills won't warmly welcome the Giants. 89.1% of America believes the Buffalo Bills will defeat the New York Giants on Sunday Night Football. Also, Daniel Jones, I think, is now like 1-11 in primetime games.
Oh, man.
I'm pretty sure he has
about to be 1-12 now.
Yeah, the worst record among quarterbacks with like a certain amount of games in primetime. But again, Daniel Jones looks like a human Toy Story character.
It looks like he was in that Toy Story, the Toy Story game on Disney Plus that one week, which was awesome. By the way, I watched it in full. It was great.
It was. I heard something about Booger McFarlane was talking about ayahuasca to kids.
He did. He dropped an ayahuasca or whatever the hell that
ayahuasca, my man.
He dropped that in there, and I clearly forgetting this was on Disney Plus.
Hey,
being streamed on Disney Plus. He didn't care, and I don't think too many people did either. I don't know how many people were actually watching the Toy Story football game besides me.
I watched it back and was like, that's really cool, but I would never watch a full game like that because it would probably piss me off.
Oh yeah, no. I would watch a full game like that, but I would rather like hear the commentary from the other feed instead of hearing.
I mean, just give me something. I mean, at this point, I don't know. I'm hoping the Bills come back with a vengeance on Sunday Night Football.
I think they will. I think I'm pretty comfortable in saying the Buffalo Bills are going to take out their aggression on this New York Giants squad, who just they're not. they're a fluke 1-win team.
I mean,
right
they are without Saquon Barkley. They are without offensive tackle. I believe Andrew Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
They're poor defensively. They're poor offensively. I mean, they're
not very good.
They probably are gonna set themselves back a handful of years, if not longer, for having signed Daniel Jones to that big contract. In my opinion. Good
Absolutely.
for Daniel Jones for getting the bag.
Yeah, get your money where you can, but I mean, in the same, that's kind of more of a reflection on the organization than it is on Daniel Jones. You kind of know what you're getting with them.
But there's the thing is that you can build a team around that, but you got to commit to building a team around that. And
right.
If you don't, you're gonna have a bad time, and they're having a real bad time in New York City right now.
Indeed.
New Jersey.
I'll tell you this, and kind of going here along with 89.1% of America. Like I said, I think the Buffalo Bills are going to beat the Giants. I don't know what the score is going to be, but I know the Giants aren't going to score a whole hell of a lot.
69-5. That's what I'm going to go with.
I will say nice, and I will also say
no one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills.
That's right. Can you imagine how loud it's going to be on Sunday Night Football? It's going to be cold. It's going to be maybe, I don't even know. Let me check my phone. What's the temperature going to be like? Hey Siri, how does this?
You have Siri now.
Hey Siri.
What's the weather going to be like in Buffalo?
What's the weather going to be like in Orchard Park on Sunday night?
Mine's not doing it. It hears you.
Park, New York on Sunday.
Expect cloudy skies in Orchard Park on Sunday.
Well, what's the temperature?
52.
Come on.
52. Low of 45.
Damn, I was hoping it'd be 69.
I mean, it could be.
It could be. It would be very nice.
Maybe at your house. Anyways, for John Cimino, I am Ryan Wolfe. We are Trust the Podcast.
You're not.
We'll catch you same time, same place next week. It'll be a lot more formal, a lot more. Suit and tie.
I'll be off of work next week, so I'll be fully rested. I won't. I can't give the same excuse that the Bills gave with the London travel. Mine was just I was up at 5:30 in the morning and I friggin'
I was actually going to mention this too off air, but I am getting my wisdom teeth taken out tomorrow morning in about less than 12 hours actually.
We should have recorded the podcast after that.
I've only got top two. Well, they're only gonna Novocaine me. They're not gonna put me down. So
that's when we should have done the podcast. That would have been a wonderful time to podcast with you on Novocaine, and then me asking you about what you put in the garbage disposals. I'm sorry.
Jesus Christ.
All right, wrap it up, Ryan.
We've lost control. As always, thank you for tuning in. Don't
put eggshells in the garbage disposal, people, and don't put condoms in there either.
My wife learned that one the hard way. The egg portion, not the condom portion.
You also said hard after condom. I think we're good.
Yeah, let's get out of here. Go Bills.
The preceding presentation has been brought to you by the Gear Network.